Hey folks, this is Matt once again, and welcome back to another review. And this time it is Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. Now, just like these other films I've been watching, the Blu-ray looks great. These films look great on Blu-ray, picture quality wise. And this came out in the summer of 1989, which was a huge summer because you had Lethal Weapon 2, you had Batman, you had quite a few huge films that summer, this being one of them. And I always remember the teaser where they would show behind the scenes and Harrison Ford would keep losing his hat, his fedora. Every week he would pretend to staple it on there, having fun on set. Great installment Indiana Jones. To me, there are no bad Indiana Jones films. I know a lot of people disagree because they hate this one, but I enjoy all of them. And this was, again, a great installment, great follow up to Temple of Doom. Like I've said before, I would say my two favorites are Raiders and Temple of Doom, but I still really do enjoy this one. It was a great addition to have Indiana Jones' dad in it and have James Bond himself, Sean Connery. I thought that was a great choice. I thought it was really cool that the MacGuffin of the story was the Holy Grail. To me, that's one of the big treasures to go for, was the Holy Grail. I'm surprised it took him to the third movie to go for that. It definitely has some vibes of the first movie because you're dealing with Nazis again. You have Denholm Elliott as Marcus. You have John Rhys-Davies coming back as Sala. So you definitely have that vibe. And you can also tell that Spielberg, of the first three films, is definitely the least dark of the three. I mean, the first one you had scenes like the snake and that came out of the corpse's mouth when Marion trapped in there, or the Nazis being melted down. And the second one you had hearts being ripped out. Here, the closest you get is when the bad guy drinks the wrong cup and he decomposes, but it's definitely not as gory or as gruesome as anything in the first two. And that's the only scene that comes close. So, but this is still a very entertaining film. Cast works great. Again, really, Sean Connery, really enjoyable to see him play off with Harrison Ford. I thought that the score by John Williams, once again, you have that great Indiana Jones theme, but he also puts in some original material, which is also memorable. Sort of a softer da 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 da, which I'm doing a shitty job of it, but you can look on YouTube for that. I know the original idea for the film. I think Lucas wanted it to be set in a haunted mansion, like a haunted house story. That Spielberg's like, I don't know. Plus, I already produced Poltergeist. He might as well say, I already directed Poltergeist, so I don't want to direct another ghost story movie. But I thought this was a better idea to go for the Holy Grail. Once again, great stunt work. I mean, you have the chase scene where Indy's on the horse trying to get on this tank where Marcus and then his father are inside and hanging off to the side and almost being pushed into the rocks. The finale where he's got to go through these traps, these obstacles, these, what do you call it? He has to go through certain steps in order to get to the Holy Grail. That's always a sequence that I remember. I would say that's my favorite. My favorite sequence. I love that kind of stuff. Interesting, at the beginning of the film, they show Indy as a kid, played by River Phoenix, who, it's too bad he passed away so early. Who knows what else he could have done. He was also in Stand By Me. I really remember him in the film Explorers. Thought he did a good job in that. He did, for the small bit he had, he did a good job in this. And what's funny is during this flashback, there's two people from slasher films. There's a guy from Friday the 13th and there's a guy from Nightmare on Elm Street. because the setup is they're in the mountains or they're in the rocks, and a young Indy comes up and sees that these guys have this treasure, this cross, a cross of Coronado. One of the guys is Bradley Gregg. That's the guy who was in Nightmare on Elm Street Part 3, who got his wrist and was being carried over by Freddy. And then he was also in a film called Class of 1999. He's one of the thieves. And the lead thief guy with the fedora, he was in Friday the 13th Part 5. He's the guy who sort of runs the institution, the mental institution that Tommy's in in Part 5 of New Beginning. He didn't have much of a role, but I do remember the face. And Indy, so it's weird. It's like Elm Street 3 and Friday the 13th Part 5 have a connection to Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. I think that's pretty funny. And fun chase. They chase after him after Indy steals the cross. It's a cross made of gold and jewels and stuff on it. He's like, that belongs in a museum. And gets on a circus train and is trying to do maybe a little too much. Is trying to establish everything in one scene where, oh, him using a whip. There's a lion coming after him, so that's how he uses a whip. How did he get the scar on his chin? Well, he whipped it, and that's how he got the scar on his chin that Harrison Ford has. Since I think back in the day he died in a car accident, that's how he got this scar on his chin. Why is he afraid of snakes? He's not really afraid of snakes, but then he falls into a big vat of snakes, and that freaks him out. But it's fun. It doesn't bother me that much. It's fun. Might be a little bit like, wow, you're trying to put it all in one scene, but it was still a fun sequence. Fun to start off a movie, different from the other films. And then he gets back home, tries to talk to his dad. His dad's too busy. And his buddy got the police, but the police are bought. And even the guy with the fedora, the guy from Friday the 13th Part 5, he's like, you lost today, kid. Doesn't mean you have to like it. And that's where he gets the fedora. I'm like, shit, this was a hell of a day. He got the whip, a fedora, how he was afraid of snakes, his scar, shit. It all happened on one day. But it was fun. I mean, come on, it's not even a nitpick. It's just something I noticed, but it was still a very fun scene. And then cut to present day, which is, I believe, 1938. And Indy's on a boat, and he's got the cross again, and beats these guys up in the rain, gets the cross, jumps off, some shit happens, blows up the entire ship, and he's the only one who survives. Comes back and is hired by this asshole. Later we find out he's an asshole. To look for the Holy Grail. That Indy's dad, Sean Connery, has been getting a lot of info on the Grail, was looking for it, he's been kidnapped. So, because his father's missing, Indy travels to Venice, Italy, meets up with this Alison, is the actress's name, which she's there. Honestly, of all 4 films, she's the least interesting female to me. I definitely like Marion more in the first one, the fourth one. I definitely like Kate Capshaw more. She's not bad in the acting. It's just really, her character's kind of there, where later on you find out she slept with him and slept with his dad, Sean Connery. That's like the only thing that's memorable to me. She doesn't really stick out to me. She's kind of okay, whatever. Who cares about her character? You know, and she's more of a bad guy. Like Marion and Cape Capture, they weren't bad guys. Here, she's a traitor, but she's more about the Holy Grail than the Nazis. But at the same time, she still betrayed them, and I mean, not bad acting wise, but just the character just not that interesting to me compared to the others. I think Cape Capture is actually pretty funny, and Marion's my favorite of all of them. Karen Allen. So, but I mean, she's not a bad actress at all. Just her characters are really not that interesting. But I love the bits where Indy's looking at his father's journal and it's like, okay, Roman numerals, his church, finds his corpse of his knight and the shield, and that gives information, and sort of looking at clues, finding out stuff. That's a little bit of the adventure aspect. And snakes and bugs were in the first two. Here's a bunch of rats. And then these assholes start a fire and try to burn them, and they escape, and you have this fun boat chase. Don't go between them, these boats. Go between them, you crazy? I said don't go between them, and they barely, narrowly get out of there, but the bad guys, well, kind of bad guys, which I'll get to, they explode. And yeah, this fun scene, and it looks like it was all done for real, and it seems pretty dangerous, where Harrison Ford is punching a guy, and the back of the boat is being destroyed by propellant, and things are exploding. Like, not that far away from Harrison Ford and the other guy. And it's like, where's my father? Where is he? Talk, we'll both die. Then lets him go and realizes that they're just protectors of the Grail. And Indy's like, I don't care, I want my father. And pretty much the guy then tells him where his father's at. And or I really do think it's funny when he tries to sneak Sandy. I don't know what accent he's going for, but he's pretending to be, look at the tapestries. Try to look at the tapestries. And the guy's like, oh, if you look at the tapestries, then I'm Mickey Mouse. And the guy goes, Harrison Ford goes, how dare he? It just fucking sucker punches the guy and smacks the shit out of him. And then you have some fun stuff, but to me the movie really begins. And again, the stuff before is fun. The boat chase is fun. Nice to see Denholm Elliott back and so forth. And the Silver River Phoenix flashback, that was fun. But when Indy swings, goes through the window and meets up with Sean Connery, who's like, Junior, sir. That's when the movie really, really begins. And that's a big part why I enjoy the film, is the relationship these two guys share with each other. It's a very fun, entertaining relationship to watch. And, for example, Sean Connery telling the Nazis, oh, no, he doesn't have my book. You didn't bring the book, did you? You did. I should have mailed it to the Marx Brothers. Well, who's going to help you, Junior? I told you, just tasted the guns. Don't call me Junior. And then Sean Connery says, look what you did. I'm doing a shitty job of it, but, you've probably seen the film. So you know what the hell it is. Or go watch the film. It's better than this review. So there's a lot of fun stuff. They get captured. And Andy goes to his dad, how do you know she was a Nazi? And Sean Connery goes, she talks in her sleep. So you get the idea that, yeah, she did sleep with both of them. John Rhys-Davies, fun to see him back as Sala. He's with Denholm Elliott, and he knows these guys are up to no good. It's like, got these papers, just keeps telling run. Oh yeah, you got the paper today, telling them run. I said run, just punches the guy right through the newspaper. But then Denholm Elliott gets captured easily. And you have a fun scene where these two guys get tied to a chair, and Sean Connery absolutely sets the whole place on fire. And real fire, not CGI fire. And this fun back and forth where they're in this, what do you call it, fireplace, and it swings around slowly from one place to the other. Some fun dialogue in between there. They finally escape. You have a fun motorcycle chase scene where Indy's on a motorcycle, Sean Connery's in a sidecar, and Indy gets this one thing and hits the guy right off his motorcycle, or hits a thing here right into the guy's wheel, and the motorcycle flips over. A fun motorcycle sequence. And pretty much Sean Connery telling him, we need to have the book, we need to go back to Berlin to get the book, because there's important stuff in there. So you go back there. That's the other scene where Andy comes face to face with Adolf Hitler. That's a fun scene. there's a sequence where they're on a blimp, or what do you call it? Zeppelin. That's what it's called, Zeppelin. And yeah, I believe there's supposed to be a fight scene on there with the same guy who's the big guy in Temple of Doom and the bald guy with the plane in Raiders of the Lost Ark. Because I see certain pictures, but I guess that fight scene was cut out. So you just have the fun bit where the one guy notices him and Indy hits him and throws him off. And then people are like, what the hell's going on? And Indy goes, no ticket. So you could definitely tell, after Temple of Doom, I guess Spielberg wanted to put, I don't want to say more humor, but a little bit of a lighter film than the first two. Which is, no, that's fine. Still a fun movie. Entertaining film. And you have a fun airplane sequence where Sean Connery accidentally shoots the tail rudder of the plane, but blames it on the Nazis, saying, "Oh, I'm sorry, son. They got us." And they land. Yeah, again, these films are not realistic. You have a scene where they crash through this tunnel, and then the bad guy is coming after them. Oh, this is later when they're in a vehicle. They're driving. They're in a vehicle driving, and a plane's coming after them, and it goes right through the tunnel, and then keeps going, passes by Indy and his dad, and blows up in front of them. Or the scene where Sean Connery uses his umbrella for birds to fly up and smashes right into the airplane, which then smashes into a cliff. A great shot where Indy sort of does that to his dad. Like, nice job, Dad. There's a lot of fun stuff. These two really make the film work. Very entertaining, not boring, goes at a fast pace. Great music, once again. Fun sequence with it, Andy dealing with this tank, putting up the barrel of this tank with a rock, and then fucking up the tank a bit. Makes the tank hit one of their own cars. Gets a gun, kills 3 Nazis with 1 bullet. The scene where Indy's flying from he's hanging from the side of the car, and Sean Connery gets in the action, fires a cannon from inside the tank, blows up a whole truck full of Nazis. Just a fun sequence. And Harrison Ford dealing with this guy here, having a little fist fight with this guy, and then the tank goes off the cliff, but Indy escaped in the nick of time, but the others don't know that. And then Sean Connery realizes his son's alive, just the pure joy in Sean Connery's face. Good, nice touches with the characters as well. And again, I really enjoy the finale, where the asshole who hired Indy to begin with shoots Sean Connery and says, "Well, Indy, you better go get that grail, otherwise your dad's going to die, because that grail's going to be able to heal your dad." And I love this the chamber to get into the Holy Grail, where the penitent man will pass. Well, I need to bow, and I need to kneel, so roll over, or to spell Jehovah, but with an I, and going through steps, otherwise you go through, or take a leap of faith, and it's one of those, it's a plank there, but it's hidden amidst the scenery. And I love that kind of stuff. That's really fun. I don't want to say tricks, but they're fun little, and they're not, some are traps, but little obstacles for just that fun adventure aspect that I loved ever since I was a kid. And he finds a knight. And yeah, that's why I don't give a shit if there's aliens in the 4th one, because there's a fucking knight, thousands of years old, chilling in a room with no fucking food, because the Holy Grail makes him give eternal life. So that means not have to worry about fucking food, not have to worry about anything. Probably not even about taking a shit. Otherwise, 1,000 years, there'd be a lot of shits in that room that we would have seen. So, if I can believe a knight, I can believe fucking aliens. So, that didn't bother me. Sorry, but I'll get to that next time. And even the guy who played the knight did a good job. When the asshole, drinks and turns into nothing, and the knight goes, "He chose poorly." Then Indy does it. You chose wisely. But see, the thing is with the Holy Grail is that it can't leave the area. That's the price of immortality. But he's able to get to Connery and save him. And the drone tries to take it. Things break down and rip apart. She dies because she's getting greedy. Indy's getting greedy. And then again, a great moment, great little arc where for the whole movie, Sean Connery keeps calling him Junior, but now he calls him by his actual name, or Indiana. Let it go. And it's about this father and son joining together again as a family, which is very cool. And they ride off into the sunset. Those two and John Rhys-Davies and Denholm Elliott, they run off into the sunset. And most people, I would say 99% of the people out there will say that's the way the series should have ended. But they made another one, and I really enjoyed it. I think it's a sequel that does not take a shit on the others. Because, unlike The Force Awakens. See, you want a sequel that is insulting the fans? Star Wars The Force Awakens is insulting the fans. Because, yeah, it's insulting that after Return of the Jedi, well, it didn't fucking matter. Because there's going to be another huge army, and they're going to be 10 times as big, and they're going to have another Death Star, but it's 10 times as big, and then Han Solo's going to be dead, because he made a kid who's an asshole and is genocidal, and then Luke Skywalker's a chicken shit who decides to hide on a fucking hill with a lightsaber up his ass, and then Han Solo dies and Leia doesn't do shit. That to me is a more insulting sequel than, hey, Indy and Marion get married, and Denholm Elliott passes away, so they give him respect, and they have a kid who's not a genocidal asshole. He's a little punk, but I actually like Shia LaBeouf in it. Sorry. This is about Last Crusade, so I'm jumping ahead. I just explained because I know most people say this is the last of the good indie films, and I disagree. But Indiana Jones Last Crusade, love the MacGuffin of the Holy Grail. That was a nice idea. Love the cast. Harrison Ford does a great job once again as Indiana Jones. Sean Connery, fantastic as his dad. One of my favorite roles from Sean Connery. My favorite is still Outland, but this is definitely one of my favorites he's done. Nice to see John Rhys-Davies in there. River Phoenix in the beginning did fine. A lot of fun action sequences and stunt work. The tank sequence, the sequences with the planes, the boat chase earlier in the film. Love the going through these chambers to get to Holy Grail, sort of the traps and the sort of that adventure aspect I remember since I was a kid. Old school special effects and model work, and John Williams did a good job once again on the score. Nice last shot, them going off to the sunset. Just with these Indiana Jones films, I have no problems with them. I think they're pretty damn good, entertaining, fun. And again, the best aspect to me is the relationship between these two guys. They really had a good chemistry with each other. You could tell they enjoyed each other's company. They had a lot of fun with each other, and it seeps through into the film in a good way. It's like, okay, these guys had fun making this film. These guys had fun doing this film, and it is a fun movie. I would call it a little bit lighter movie. I know I repeated that, but it's still a little bit of a lighter film compared to the first two, but it's still an entertaining film. I made that sound as if it's a bad thing, but it's not. It's more in tone with Raves of Lost Earth than Temple of Doom. There's not really anything bad I can say about this film other than she wasn't bad, but she's kind of not that interesting. The bad guys were there. They fit the film. I mean, they're not as memorable as Molaram or Belloc or Tote, but the villains fit what they were supposed to do, what they were, like this guy here. They did their jobs fine. They were not bad at all. I'm just saying they're not as interesting as or have a presence as Molaram or Belloc, but they did their jobs fine. And yeah, overall, have a lot of fun with Last Crusade. I always remember also the Diet Coke commercial. I think when the VHS came out, where it was like a woman trying to get a can of Coke. I think it was Diet Coke, and the whole house was breaking apart. She's trying to traverse over it. It's on YouTube. Type in like Last Crusade commercial with Coke, Diet Coke. And she finally gets it, and Indiana Jones saves her, and she gets back to the movie. I forget what VHS I saw it. Was it on an Indiana Jones? Was it on Last Crusade VHS tape? I can't remember. I know it's again. I know it's on YouTube, but anytime I think about this movie, I always think about that Diet Coke commercial. Yeah, it was because I remember just for the taste of it, Diet Coke. It ended like that. I know it's weird. I would think of Diet Coke as I'm talking about, but these three films I watched a lot when I was a kid on VHS, many times, and it's been a lot of fun watching through these three films again. Just classic films, entertaining, fun, great stunt work, great cast. But next time, I will talk about the much hated, much despised Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. So I will see you later and talk to you soon. Bye bye.